Welcome to AP Macroeconomics for Dummies. In today's segment, we will be teaching you all the basics of assets and liabilities, the money multiplier, supply and demand of money, the loanable funds market, and other financial funds. Bank and the creation of money. Here's Jane. Jane has been keeping $1,000 under her bed for safekeeping. One day, Jane decides that keeping money under her bed is not so safe, so she deposits it into Bank A. Jane's checkable deposit can be represented by a T account, a tool used to analyze the assets and liabilities of a bank account. A T account is represented by a T chart. Assets go on the left and liabilities go on the right. Assets are funds that a bank can make money off of. Liabilities are funds that a bank owes to the depositor. So when Jane deposits her $1,000, the bank's liabilities go up by 1,000 demand deposits. But that's not all. Assets increase by $1,000 as well. There are, however, subcategories of assets, reserve requirements, and excess reserves. For Bank A, the reserve requirement is 10%. This means that of Jane's $1,000, the bank must keep $100 in reserves. The remaining $900 is added to the bank's excess reserves, over which the bank has complete control. They may use the excess reserves to purchase government security, or they may loan it out. Let's say that Bank A does not keep any excess reserves. They decide to loan out Jane's excess $900 to Fred. Fred takes this $900 and deposits it into Bank B. Bank B's liabilities increase by $900, and assets, reserved requirements, increase by $90, and excess reserves increase by $810. Now stop. Let's assess the changes that have been made to the money supply. Before Jane brought her money to the bank, the money supply did not include her $1,000. After she made a deposit, the money supply increased by $1,000. Then, Bank A loaned out $900 of Jane's money to Fred. As you can see at this point, the money supply has been increased to $1,900. Money has been created, all from Jane's initial deposit. How does this happen? Well, it's all due to the money multiplier effect. What is this? The money multiplier is the ratio of the initial deposit to the reserve requirement. Essentially, the money multiplier shows a deposit's maximum potential of growth. Here's an example. Going back to Jane's initial deposit, her $1,000 actually has the potential to become $10,000. How? You divide her initial deposit of $1,000 by the reserve requirement of 0.1 or 10%. Do the math and you get the $10,000. Basically, if Bank A's initial loans flows from bank to bank, 10,000 new dollars will be created and added to the economy's money supply. Now moving on to our next topic, the money market graph. This graph has two types of lines, the money demanded line and the money supplied line. The x-axis of the graph represents quantity of money held and the y-axis is interest rates. The demand for money is a downward sloping line. It slopes downward because the higher the interest rate is, the higher the opportunity cost of holding money or savings is. As investment increases, aggregate demand increases, resulting in an increase in the demand for money. This line can shift up or down due to changes in the price level, real GDP, technology, or institutions. The supply of money line is a vertical line. It is vertical because it is unaffected by interest rates, which, if you recall, is on the y-axis. Think of this line as savings, because you can either save or spend your savings. The point where the money supply hits the x-axis, or the quantity of money, is at the point M, which is chosen by the Federal Reserve. Just like the money demanded line, this line can be shifted by a few factors. Changes in open market operations, discount rates, and reserve requirements all shift the location of money supply. Both investment and aggregate demand affect the money market graph. Investment and aggregate demand are directly proportionate, meaning that if aggregate demand increases, the investment will also increase, and vice versa. If the aggregate demand decreases, the investment will decrease. This relationship is because of C plus G plus I plus X equation of GDP. Finally, let's discuss the market for loanable funds. The market for loanable funds is a hypothetical market that demonstrates the demand for funds and supply of funds. It is represented by a graph. This graph consists of two labeled axes and two sloped lines. The y-axis is interest rates, and the x-axis is quantity of loanable funds. The upward sloping line is the supply of loanable funds. Think of this line as savings. The downward sloping line is the demand of loanable funds. The intersection of the two lines is the equilibrium interest rate, when loanable funds demanded is equal to loanable funds supplied. In this graph, we can measure real and nominal interest rates. Real interest rates tell us the price paid for the use of money. We can also put the nominal interest rate for a given expected future inflation on the y-axis. In this money market, the nominal interest rate serves as the price on the y-axis. Price is determined by the interest rate denoted by R. There are many different nominal interest rates because there are many types of loans. There are short-term loans, long-term loans, loans made to corporate borrowers, and loans made to the government. An aspect of these loans is the rate of return. The rate of return is the profit earned on the project expressed as a percentage of its cost. This can be calculated by dividing revenue from project cost by the cost of the project multiplied by 100. How does this affect the market for loanable funds, you ask? Well, businesses want loans when the rate of return on its project is greater than or equal to the interest rate. So, in the short run, when interest rate falls, this leads to higher investment spending, and the subsequent increase in real GDP is equivalent to the rise in investment spending. When the interest rate falls, the quantity of savings supplied rises to an equal quantity of savings demanded. When this happens, the equilibrium interest rate in the loanable funds market is equal to that of the money market. In the long run, however, changes in the money supply do not affect the interest rate, and GDP returns to its original value as wages rise and fall. The equilibrium interest rate is consistent with the intersection of demand for loanable funds and the supply of loanable funds where real GDP equals potential output. Finally, let's talk about crowding out. What is this? Well, crowding out occurs when a government deficit drives up the interest rate, which leads to reduced investment spending. How does this market affect loanable funds market? Well, this means the demand on loanable funds market graph increases. Phew! That was a whole lot of econ. Thanks for watching. This video was made by Chandler, Ballbach, Stefani, Basilavecchio, Kate Borkovitz, Joe Connolly, and Kirsten Fitch.